Think you've seen it all in home aquariums? From monstrous sizes to legal nightmares, here are fish that are so problematic, they might just make you consider a pet rock instead. Stay tuned to find out which fish could turn your tank into a tale of caution. So snakeheads, right? These guys are the actual Slytherins of the aquatic world, lurking around, totally dominating. First off, they're not even supposed to be in the United States, but here they are causing all sorts of havoc. Totally illegal in many places because they're like the invasive boss level that nobody asked for. They've got this freaky ability to breathe air. Yeah, air. And can survive on land for up to 4 days, people. You heard that right. They're basically the fish equivalent of a horror movie monster that can walk out of the lake and into your nightmares. And it's not just about being tough and scary, these fish disrupt everything. They outcompete native species for food and space, which is pretty much like showing up uninvited and then eating all the pizza. The freaking nerve. Environmentalists are seriously concerned because their presence can lead to lower populations of native fish and mess up ecosystems. So, keeping them out is crucial. Not just to keep our local fish chill, but to preserve whole aquatic neighborhoods from this bully. Alright, let's talk about the Redtail Catfish, which is basically the Hagrid of fish. Yep, 2 Harry Potter references in a row. This kind-hearted giant should really live in a magical lake and not your living room tank. You see, these behemoths can grow over 4 feet long and tip the scales at over 100 pounds, like living submarines with whiskers. Keeping one in home aquariums like trying to park a bus in a bike rack. It's not suitable unless you run a public aquarium or something. But anyways, their massive size means that they need a ton of room to roam. And without that space, it's just cruel. Like stuffing a dragon in a suitcase. Plus, imagine the amount of food and poop your aquarium maintenance would be off the charts, okay? It's like having a pet that's more demanding than a YouTube algorithm, and we know all about that. Then there's the red belly Pacu, kind of the unexpected influencer of the fish world. They seem cool, until you realize that they're way too big for your standard fish tank setup. These fish are notorious for their size and appetite, kind of like that one friend who just never seems to stop eating at parties. They grow really large, and because of that, they're not only a hassle to keep, but they're also a risk to local ecosystems if they ever get out. In fact, they're so good at adapting that if they escape, they can easily become invasive, pushing out local species and basically taking over. It's the aquatic version of someone stealing your dinner and then inviting all their friends over to stream movies. Not cool, Pacu. Not cool. And then there's the tiger shovelnose catfish. Oh boy, this one's like that popular kid who ends up being way too much to handle. They can grow over 3 feet long, and they're basically the swimmers of the fish world that need Olympic-sized pools, not a backyard kiddie pool. They're often bought as these cute little babies without any realization that they're gonna grow up into tank-busting beasts. This is the fish that makes you rethink all your life choices when it starts redecorating your aquarium by sheer force. Imagine trying to manage a fish that's longer than most dogs are tall. It's like adopting a cute little kitten and then finding out that it's a tiger. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. Surprise! And let's not forget about the wolf cichlid. These are tiny terrors of the fish world. Small at a local fish store? Well, yeah. Cute? Debatable. But aggressive? Oh, absolutely. They're often sold small at stores, but they'll grow fast once they become adults, and they can and probably will take on or take out anyone in their tank. Keeping one in a community tank is a recipe for disaster. It's like inviting a bull into the china shop and then hoping for the best. Their aggressive nature makes them a tough companion for any other fish, which means they often need their own space where they can't terrorize their tank mates. Like having a roommate who eats everyone else's food, then refuses to do the dishes. Not exactly an ideal living situation. So, getting a common Pleco might seem like a solid move if you're battling the whole algae drama in your tank, but here's the lowdown. These guys are like that one friend who promised to crash on your couch for a weekend only, and they're still there 3 months later. Except this friend can grow up to 2 feet long and literally suck the life out of your aquarium ecosystem. Seriously, they turn from cute little algae eaters into hulking beasts that can eat up space and resources faster than streaming services chew through your data cap. If you're not about converting your entire living room into an aquatic habitat, maybe check out some smaller Pleco varieties like the bristlenose or the clown Pleco. They keep it real, small and manageable, and they won't outgrow their welcome. Okay, setting the scene here. Arapaimas are not just big. They are one of the largest freshwater fish that you could ever encounter, and they're not exactly apartment friendly unless you live in an aquarium. Owning an Arapaima is like subscribing to a life of constant tank upgrades, because these river monsters need more space than your average fish. We're talking a setup that's less of a tank and more of an indoor pool situation. So unless you're running a setup like SeaWorld in your backyard, an Arapaima might just be a tad ambitious. Yeah. They're stunning, sure, with their sleek prehistoric look, but they're best admired in large aquariums where they can roam free, not cramped in a tank where they can barely turn around. Personally, I don't think this fish should be sold in the hobby. It gets way too big. Speaking of big, so you're thinking about an Alligator Gar. Well, hold up, because these guys are straight up illegal in several states because they're basically living fossils that can grow up to 10 feet long. Having one is like having a small dinosaur in your house, which sounds really cool until you realize it's not practical or legal. Yeah, I know. They've got this gnarly array of teeth and a penchant for eating absolutely anything that can fit in their mouth, which is a lot. Their care level here is hardcore. Only the most dedicated aquatic enthusiasts with the resources for monster-sized tanks should even consider it. Plus, they can live for decades, so it's a long-term commitment to a fish that could potentially outlive your interest in aquatic pets. Listen, they're best viewed at public aquariums or at your local Cabela's. I love looking at them when I visit the one here in Betta. Now, onto the Serpae Tetra, the notorious fin nippers of the fish world. Hosting these in your community tank's like inviting a known troublemaker to a party and expecting them not to start any drama. What were you thinking, Sheila? What were you thinking? Sure, they're small and they look harmless with their vibrant red colors, pretty cool, but they'll chase your other fish around and shred their fins like it's some kind of sport. If your goal is a peaceful tank vibe, Serpae Tetras might just test your patience more than a slow internet connection. Buffering. There are plenty of other Tetra species that play nice with others, and I have a tier list video all about them, so maybe consider those unless you're up for moderating constant aquatic squabbles. Oh, and then there's the giant Gourami, which, well, it's not just a clever name, they really are giant. These guys grow over 20 inches in some cases, and keeping one's like adopting a small whale. You're gonna need a tank that can double as a small swimming pool to accommodate their size and active nature. And while they do admittedly have a certain charm, their appearance can be a bit divisive. Not everyone's into that distinct look, which ranges from majestic to, let's say, an acquired taste. They're intelligent and they can have big personalities, but they demand a significant amount of space and commitment. Unless you're equipped to handle the Hulk of the fish world, maybe stick to something a tad smaller and a little more manageable. Okay, so Chinese algae eaters might seem like the perfect solution to your algae problems when you first spot them in the pet store. I mean, it's literally in the name. But don't let that name fool you. Initially, these guys do a bang-up job munching on algae. At first, you'll be like, wow, great idea. But as they grow older, they stop caring about algae and they start showing their true colors. And those colors, folks, oh, they're not pretty. They turn into the bullies of the tank, more interested in suctioning onto and harassing other fish than doing their supposed job. They can grow up to 10 inches long, and their aggressive nature makes them a terrible match for a peaceful community tank. I don't even think we should call them algae eaters in the trade. This is one algae eater, I say that loosely, that I would avoid. Moving on to piranhas, the classic bad boys of the aquatic world. Despite their fearsome reputation, piranhas are, dare I say, kind of boring in a home tank setting. I know. They're not the interactive or playful type. I mean, think of them more as that moody artist who just wants to be left alone. Plus, they grow pretty large and they can have a nasty temper, which isn't ideal unless you're into the whole living on the edge vibe. And get this, they're actually illegal to own in many places because of their potential danger to local ecosystems if they ever got out. Owning piranhas is like subscribing to a service with a lot of hidden fees. It seems cool until you realize what you signed up for. Arowanas are basically the supermodels of the fish world. They're sleek, they're shiny, and a tad high maintenance. These fish get pretty large, and because of their size and strength, they pose a unique risk in a home aquarium. They're known for jumping out of the water, which can lead to serious injuries from tank decorations or even escape attempts. If you're thinking of getting an Arowana, your tank needs to be like Fort Knox here, okay, with an impeccable lid security to keep these high flyers contained. They're not just a commitment, they're a full-on lifestyle choice for the dedicated aquarist. I don't know what came over me. Now, let's talk about the iridescent shark catfish. These guys are often mistaken for easygoing community tank fish, but this is a huge misconception. They grow enormously large, often reaching over 4 feet in captivity. Yes, not 4 inches, 4 feet, 48 inches. And as you can imagine, that can lead to all sorts of issues in home aquariums that aren't equipped to handle such giants. It's like buying a small plant for your apartment and ending up with a tree that touches the ceiling. Many owners are not prepared for the scale of care required, which can lead to welfare issues for your fish. If you're considering one, think about whether you can really provide that vast amount of space and the clean water that they need to thrive. Real quick, let's dive into the world of Bala Sharks, which, spoiler alert, aren't actually sharks. These guys are known for their schooling nature, which means they thrive in groups, not solo missions. To keep them healthy and, well, not stressed out of their minds, you need a setup that's more like a mini lagoon than a standard tank. I mean, massive. Like 150 gallons massive. This isn't just for their physical health, but for their mental well-being. In the wild, they cruise the rivers of Southeast Asia, and trying to cram them into something that's too small is like fitting into jeans you outgrew 2 years ago. It's just not gonna work, no matter how hard you try. Keeping them in groups adds another layer of complexity because now you're multiplying that space requirement by, say, 5 or 6 times. It's a big commitment, and unless you're really ready to scale up, they might not be the best fit for your aquatic family. Moving on to the quirky world of the Eye Goldfish. These little creatures are quite the spectacle, with water-filled sacs under their eyes that give them a permanently surprised look. Here's the tea though. Those adorable bubbles are super delicate and they can burst if they bump into, well, I mean anything harder than a pillow, really. It's a kind of design flaw if you think about it. They also have impaired vision because of those sacs, which makes navigating the typical aquarium setup more like an obstacle course. Ethically, it's a bit of a minefield, because you have to ask yourself if it's fair to keep a fish that's been bred to have these traits that clearly don't benefit the fish itself. Like breeding dogs with health issues just because they look cute. It's something to ponder on. Alright, moving on. Peacock Bass. They're like the divas of the freshwater fish world, with their stunning colors and commanding presence, but don't let their beauty fool you. They are the predators at heart, and they need space to match that lifestyle. A typical home aquarium setup? No, forget about it. These guys need room to hunt and claim territories. Kind of like having a tiger and expecting it to thrive in a cat condo. If you're considering a peacock bass, you're looking at needing hundreds of gallons of water and a setup that could rival some public aquariums. I'm serious, their care is not for the faint of heart or the light of wallet. It's a commitment to essentially running a small ecosystem, which is both challenging and rewarding if you can meet their hefty needs. Dragon Bettas. These guys are striking with their metallic scales and bold colors, but there is a darker side to their beauty. The diamond eye condition that affects this breed leads to blindness, raising some serious ethical questions about breeding practices that prioritize aesthetics over health. It's somewhat troubling to think about intentionally breeding animals that will suffer from health issues just for the way they look. This scenario is akin to following a trend without considering the consequences. For anyone passionate about the welfare of your aquatic pets, it's crucial to consider where your bettas are coming from and whether their breeding's been done responsibly. Oh, the enigmatic clown knife fish. Yes, the serial killers of the sea world. Not really. These nocturnal creatures can grow to be over 3 feet long and require a ton of space to roam, especially at night when they're most active. See, serial killer. Okay, no more. Keeping one in a typical home aquarium's like trying to keep a secret. It's bound to get out, and it won't be subtle. And they're actually a little bashful. They need plenty of hiding spaces, which means your tank needs to be equipped with caves and large ornaments, creating an environment that allows them to feel secure. Listen, if you're up for the challenge, they're fascinating creatures to watch, especially in a tank that mimics their natural habitat. But make no mistake, they're a major commitment, and they require a dedicated and experienced fish keeper to really thrive. You thinking of making one of these fin friends your new roomie? A happy tank starts with smart choices and serious care. Hit that like, subscribe, and share your fantastic stories in the comments below. Dive deep into your fish keeping adventures and keep those waters calm and thriving. We'll catch you in the next wave.